An opportunity is in front of you, it is real, it is open, and no one has ever made it work. There is no story to follow here, no interview with someone who tried this and won, no path lit by a person who arrived. The ground ahead of you is unmarked. You have looked for a sign that this can work, and the landscape has answered with nothing. This is not a rare situation. It is the shape of every genuinely new decision. Hold the two outcomes in your hands. If you commit and it fails, you lose something real. Money you saved, months of your life, the quiet cost of explaining it afterward. That loss has a size, and you can feel its edges. If you commit and it works, the gain is of a different kind, not an increment, a changed position. The first version of something that did not exist. Both outcomes are yours to carry, and nothing in front of you says which one is waiting. So you do what anyone would do. You look for the person who went first. You are not asking for a guarantee. You are asking for a single example. One name, one survivor, one light at the far end. You scan the whole horizon for it, slowly, twice. The horizon offers none. And still the opportunity stands there, open. It does not argue. It does not promise. It simply waits while you decide what the silence means. Step forward, and you act without a single example to lean on. Stay, and you keep your losses at zero, along with everything else. The decision has not changed since you arrived. What has changed is how heavy it feels. The reasonable move seems obvious. Wait. Let someone else go first. This is not cowardice. It is how careful people survive. Proof costs nothing to the person who waits for it. Every instinct you have was trained on a simple rule. When the outcome is unknown, watch before you act. The rule has protected you before. It is protecting you now, and it asks for only one thing in return. Someone else has to go first. Imagine the difference one visible winner would make. The same opportunity, the same costs, the same unknowns. But now a person stands at the far end, and their existence changes everything you feel. Not the odds. The odds are what they always were. What changes is the permission. A winner is something you can point to when you explain yourself. A winner makes the decision defensible. This is what precedent actually sells, not information about the path. Cover for the person walking it. And you notice how much of your hesitation was waiting for cover, not waiting for facts. Here's the feeling underneath all of it. Offer someone a bet with bad odds, stated plainly, and they can decide. Offer them a bet with unknown odds, and something colder arrives. Unknown odds repel us more than bad odds. We would rather face a known risk than an open question. The empty horizon is not telling you the chances are poor. It is refusing to tell you the chances at all. And that refusal, not any number, is what is holding you at the origin. But notice where this instinct leads if everyone obeys it. Everyone waits for the first example. The first example never comes. The instinct that protects each person, applied by all of them, seals the horizon shut. Something about the rule does not scale. That is worth examining. Look at what did get built. Every company that now defines an industry began before its industry existed. Every treatment that now saves lives was once an experiment with no survivors to cite. Early ventures, technologies that rewired how people live, discoveries no committee would have funded twice. Each one has the same line in its history. At the beginning, nobody had succeeded. Take one of them back to its own first day. Stand where its founder stood. The horizon they faced looks exactly like yours. No examples, no survivors, no light at the far end. Everything you are feeling now, they felt then. The careful rule you are obeying now existed then too, and applied honestly, the rule says no. It said no to the company that defines its industry. It said no to the treatment that saves lives. It said no, in its own first hour, to every single thing you now call obvious. The rule you trust would have refused everything you admire. Sit with that for a moment, because it does not resolve on its own. And yet the rule is not simply wrong. For every first success, there were unprecedented bets that failed quietly and taught nothing. Most empty horizons stay empty. The trouble is sharper than a wrong rule. From where you stand, the wise bet and the foolish one are indistinguishable. They produce the same silence. They offer the same absence of examples. They generate the same feeling in your chest. Intuition reads the feeling, and the feeling is identical in both worlds. Whatever separates them, it is not something you can sense from the origin. Which means the question has changed without announcing it. You are no longer asking whether to be brave. Bravery reads the same feeling everyone else reads. You are asking whether there is something underneath the silence that the feeling cannot reach. There is. It is not a mood, and it is not a slogan. It is a structure, and it can be drawn. Start with what you actually observed. Nobody has succeeded. It feels like one fact. It is two possibilities wearing one face. In the first world, almost nobody has tried. The silence is empty of meaning because it is empty of attempts. In the second world, many tried, and all of them failed. The same silence, now full of verdicts. Your feeling treated these two worlds as identical. They are opposites, and the difference between them hangs on a question the feeling never asked. How many actually tried? Watch what the number of attempts does to the silence. If no one has tried, 0 successes is exactly what you would expect, in good worlds and bad worlds alike. The observation carries almost nothing. If 10 have tried, the silence begins to whisper. If 1,000 have tried and all of them failed, the silence becomes a verdict. And when success is rare by nature, even hundreds of attempts can leave the horizon looking exactly like this one. You have already done the hard part. You felt the two worlds pull apart. The structure that separates them has carried a name for 2.5 centuries. Bayesian reasoning. Belief that moves in proportion to attempts, not in proportion to headlines. 0 successes out of 0 attempts leaves the future almost exactly where reason put it before you looked. The uncertainty had a structure all along. The feeling could not read it. The arithmetic can. Knowing what the silence means is half the answer. The other half is what the bet is worth. Look at the shape of the outcomes you weighed at the start. The loss has a floor. You felt its edges in the first minute. The gain has no ceiling of that kind. It bends upward, and everything you admired earlier lives somewhere on that curve. Now ask how certain you would need to be for this bet to make sense. When losing costs little and winning changes everything, that bar drops. It keeps dropping as the asymmetry grows, until it falls inside the range your own updated belief already occupies. Not certainty, not even confidence. A bar low enough to clear. Now look at where you started. The same horizon, the same figure at the origin, the same silence. Nothing on this canvas has changed except what you can read from it. The two worlds, drawn. The weight of the attempts, measured. The floor under your loss, the curve over your gain, the bar your belief must clear. This is the machine that was running underneath the feeling the entire time. Say it back in plain words. Silence is data, and its strength depends on how hard the world has tried. The worth of an unprecedented bet depends on the shape of its outcomes, not on the existence of company. Those two sentences are the whole correction. The feeling at the origin was real. It was reading the wrong things. So what does a person actually do with this? Not a leap, a probe. Commit the smallest stake that generates a real answer. The first attempt does something no amount of waiting can do. It changes the count. 0 attempts becomes 1, and your belief moves the day it happens, in whichever direction the world answers. Acting small is not a compromise between waiting and leaping. It is the one move that buys information instead of renting comfort. Then, with better belief, decide again. Carry 3 questions out of this room. The first is how many have actually tried, because the meaning of the silence lives in that count. The second is what failing would truly cost, because the floor under the loss is what makes a probe rational. The third is what succeeding would actually pay, because the curve above the gain is what lowers the bar. 3 questions. 1 for the silence, 1 for the floor, 1 for the curve. They fit in a pocket. And remember the axis from before. Every marker on it is a person who faced an unmarked horizon and moved anyway. Not because they were braver, because somebody always has to generate the first attempt, or the count stays at 0 for everyone. The mathematics does not say that person is you. It says there are conditions under which it rationally could be. That is more than the silence ever told you. This episode will not tell you to invest. It will not tell you to wait. Both can be right, and both can be ruinous. And the difference was never going to be settled by a feeling at the edge of a quiet horizon. What you have now is not an answer. It is a way of asking that the silence cannot defeat. The decision, as always, is yours.